Hi there, my name is Belinda Dovson and welcome to the I Ching Cafe this week as we look ahead to the week commencing Monday the 17th of June 2019. We ask the I Ching, what should we pay attention to or really focus on for this week? As we work with these weekly overviews, it's important to remember that this is what the I Ching is asking us as a collective, as a set of I Ching family members to pay attention to. And of course, in your own life, you will have other currents of change that are influencing you right now. So before we get into this week and what we have to pay attention to, I wanted to see how are you doing with your weeding. As you know, from June 2019, our focus should be on clearing the garden, on removing the weeds, on tackling past issues and old authoritarian issues, weeding them out, getting the garden ready for what is to come. What was really interesting for me to look at is the changing lines I gave you and the timelines I gave you. Literally last week, I had this experience of an issue coming to light totally out of nowhere from when I was 17, going from school, finishing school to university. And this memory popped up and was so strong and so overwhelming. And I realized right then and there, my mind went straight to weeding the garden and the changing line for last week, which was all about getting into issues of the past and rooting out old buried things that you can't see that pop up and start to make you aware of stuff that's sitting there that's unresolved. And I wanted to share that with you because it's a great example of these old weeds that do sit under the ground and they pop out and then we rip them out and we deal with them as they arise. So hopefully there's something for you that is transformed, that's become visible, that's come into your mind, in your own life, perhaps in your company as well. So let's get into the week. We start the week, the main hexagram or the main focus of change for this week is the hexagram 41 called decrease. When I got this hexagram, I was, really decreased. We've had limitation, we've had weeding, we've had all kinds of interesting things we've been working with. What is this decrease all about? Hexagram 41 is all about making sacrifices for the greater good and making sacrifices for the future. Decreasing our pleasures and our immediate and instant gratification for a bigger and higher goal we are working towards. It also ties directly to the decrease of wealth because we're investing in something for the future. So literally a decrease. It's like the hot sun beating down into the dam or the reservoir, evaporating the water going back up into the clouds and the cycle starting all over again because the clouds will coalesce and later we'll get rain. So it's this idea of decreasing what's peripheral, what is glamorous, and really getting to the heart of the issue. And particularly for those of you who are going through financial difficulties at this time, personally or in your business, this is about not being embarrassed about that state because you are working towards a bigger purpose, a higher ideal. So if this is the situation for you, work with this idea of being focused on cutting back on excesses. Don't plunge yourself into unnecessary expenditure. Be honest and open about where you're at and decrease what is not essential. Get back to the core. And through that, focus on investing for this long-term picture you are working towards. So this week we have just one changing line, which is really fantastic because it means that it really slows everything down. Despite the decreased energy we're working with, we're decreasing the change. Wow, that's something to be excited about. Just a calmer week with less dramatic flicks of change like we had last week. And so our changing line is in the first position, and that changing line is all about understanding what you make sacrifices for. So that particular line talks about those that are in a lower position making sacrifices, willing sacrifices for the bigger cause or for the leader, and the leader understanding the sacrifice that the team is making and doesn't take advantage of the team. So when that is in place, when you have the team making willing sacrifices for the greater good to the leader, and the leader understands the impact of those sacrifices and the cost to those individuals, and doesn't take advantage, you have sacrifice and decrease on both sides in balance, and we can achieve something. However, if that is for some reason imbalanced for you in this week, you're being asked to be critical of what you sacrifice and critical of what you take from others. So let's unpack that a little bit more. If you are in a position where you are part of the team, and that team could be your family team as well. If you are part of the team and you are sacrificing your time, you're working overtime, perhaps you've put in some hours on Father's Day or Mother's Day or birthdays or anniversaries, and you've made sacrifices that have taken away from you. And the people in power, those who are leaders or managers, take that from you and don't give you back equal in return. So we have symbiosis. You have got to make choices about withdrawing from that. And this week you've got to be critical around what you are sacrificing to. Is it the right sacrifice to make? And does the decrease in you bring something else back that you're looking for? If you are the manager, the leader in a position of authority, you have to look at your own actions and ask yourself the question, in my team, whether it's my family, friends, business, work, whatever your leadership position might be, to what extent is my actions decreasing others? In other words, I'm taking from those who are making sacrifices to me and not putting back. And you've got to be really critical around your engagement with this process. So a very fascinating changing line this week that's really challenging our relationship to sacrifice, whether we are taking the sacrifice of others or we are making unnecessary sacrifice to something that will not return what we are losing. And as we then round out that energy towards the end of the week, we have Hexagram 4, which is called Youthful, Folly. This hexagram is the state of change related to the inexperience of youth. And what this says is that this change brings to our awareness, if we are open to it, an area where we are inexperienced, we don't have the expertise, the skills, the knowledge, because we haven't been there. We don't have the benefit of time, the benefit of experience, the benefit of maturity to be the wise sage in the situation. And when we have inexperience in something, it makes perfect sense for us to go and seek a teacher, to go and seek someone, a mentor, a guide who can help us along the way. The guide might be a course, the guide might be a person, your superior, someone who can help you in navigate through this learning process. It's like in Karate Kid, where you have wax on, wax off, okay? And so you see in that movie, he only really starts to gain traction when his arrogance is put aside and we embraces the teachings of the wise sage, of the master, of the teacher. And as the saying goes, when the student is ready, the master will appear, the teacher will appear. So a good teacher knows not to step in and tell you what to do. When you are ready, when you're willing to admit that you need help, that you need some guidance or some learning, that you don't know as much as you think you do, that is when the real learning can begin. So we are being asked to focus on being open to seeing where it is that we're inexperienced, where we don't have the benefit of wisdom, and to go and ask for help in the right place. It's that state of mind of openness to learning, of seeing things from a youthful perspective, seeing things with fresh eyes, and not being cynical or preconceived around what's in and what's not. That is going to get us the wonderful energy of youth as we round out the week. So this week is all about understanding we're in a state of decrease. We are diminishing our physical resources for a bigger, higher goal, and we should be focusing on that. And in particular, we're being asked to focus on, are we making unnecessary sacrifices to those who take from us, or are you the person who is taking a sacrifice from others and not compensating them duly for their decrease to you? As we then round out the week, we hint into the opportunity to learn something new, to be open to seeing things with new eyes, and to going and seeking out the help, the teacher, the guidance, the wisdom, the counselor, the psychologist, whatever it might be, to support us in maximizing the focus for this week. Go and watch June's overview, and if you're on Instagram, go along to I Ching Cafe and go and find us there is a daily I Ching piece of inspiration for you that comes up as a story every single day. We also have the podcast version of this channel. Go along, if you're a podcaster and you love them as I do, go along to I Ching Cafe on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, or wherever else your podcaster app catches your content, and go and subscribe to us there. Have an awesome week. Remember June, remember the weeding, and we'll touch base again soon.